Hello and welcome to SW3311, the final year practice-based module with me, Mike Harling, Programme Lead for the Social Work Degree Apprenticeship. This video is going to take about roughly about 10 minutes, and I'll kind of go through the main overview of this module, your final practice year module, what's involved, and hopefully it will be as helpful to your practice educators and team managers to get a clear as possible overview of what to expect and what your year is going to look like. Roughly speaking, the module is broken down into two separate parts, the first of which is the placement or practice experience part of the module, which takes place over 100 days. It's a pass or fail. I'll come in a minute to talk a little bit about the documentation that sits alongside that. The other half is the case study and case study presentation, which will be due in later in the year, and roughly kind of June time. We're yet to set an exact date, but it will be some point in June. Unlike previous years, there will not be an exam and there will not be a law viva, which is a conversation that followed that exam, which means that there will be less for you to do this year than in any previous years. We won't be replacing it with anything because we're confident that across the degree we've got enough evidence to say that you've met all the knowledge, skills and behaviour. So yeah, we're not kind of running away and putting something else in there to cover it. One or two people were concerned about that, but that isn't going to happen. And it'll give you more of an opportunity just to focus on doing an excellent case study and a fantastic presentation. Practice experience. A practice experience is what we've come to describe the placement on the main social work degree as, and we think it's a better way of describing it because you are well embedded within your team and within your service, and our experience over the last few years of running the apprenticeship is that works very well to support you to get the most out of the experience. And before you start with us at Winchester, you're in a very clear and rich practice setting. That's your experience all the way through your degree with us, and your employer wants to support you beyond that. So it's a contrast to the main degree where we're looking to find placements for students who attend that degree. You're always in a good situation to apply your learning, which is a real strength of the apprenticeship. So meetings in the final year, you may be pleased to know that we will try and reduce meetings where possible. It's 100-day practice experience, so we do need a placement agreement meeting, a midway meeting and a final meeting. We're looking to combine these with the tripartite meetings as much as is possible, because often there's quite a lot of overlap in terms of discussion on what you're doing. So if we can cut down the number of meetings, it seems to benefit everybody. I just thought I'd say a little bit about the role of the practice educator. So the practice educator is there during your 100 days to look at the evidence that you're providing on the knowledge, skills and behaviour. We've made a little bit of a change to how that's logged this year, which I think will benefit and be appreciated by all. The apprentice does not need to complete a written critical analysis or formally marked direct observation. So that's something that people would do on the main degree that you won't be asked to do because it's covered mostly by the fact that you do a case study. The practice educator's report will reference the KSBs and the duty log at the end, and all of the experiences that you put into that will be based on the 100-day practice experience that you're on. So you won't kind of draw on prior experiences, it'll all be contained within those 100 days because the practice educator would need to be someone who's got sight of that and who's got a bit of an overview of it. So the duties log. So previously there were there still are 89 KSBs that form part of that cover the entire degree and that we kind of see evidence of as you go through the programme. But instead of having a KSB log, you'll have a duties log. Instead of 89 KSBs, there's 19 duties. So if you've been following any of if your maths has been improving during that time, you'll know that that's a significant reduction in the number of entries that you'll need to make, so down from 89 to 19, so 70. However, we are asking you to make 2 entries on each of those 19 duties, but it's a reduction in what we're asking of you in terms of the content, but we don't think it'll have any impact on the quality. And the duties, unlike the KSBs, are a bit more holistic. They enable you to kind of get into the subject a little bit more, but without significantly more content in terms of your explanation, so less in effect. There'll be some examples on these slides which will give you an idea of roughly what it is we're asking of you, and in essence it's not significantly different to what was being asked last time, but it should feel a bit more holistic, and it should feel a little bit more less like counting down a huge number of different questions, and more like speaking to what you're doing within your practice experience. So I think that will work particularly well. Just a reminder of the KSBs. When we talk about K for the KSBs, we're talking about knowledge. So something like the impact of different societies' views on human behaviour. That's something that you will know. It's a kind of it's knowledge that you will have gained from within your practice experience. That's different to a skill where you're, for instance, if you manage and weigh up conflicting values or interests, or make and receive a referral, that's a practical task, and that's a skill that you're developing. So that's knowledge and that's skills. And in terms of behaviour, there's 5 key behaviours, one of which is adhere to Social Work England standards of conduct, performance and ethics. So that's a behaviour, an expectation of you as a social worker. So those 3 that I've mentioned, along with the other KSBs, form that list of knowledge, skills and behaviour, which enable us to confirm that you've met the standards and that we're comfortable that you're able to go on the list and become a fully qualified social worker. When you're recording your evidence, there's 3 things that it's worth breaking it down into, which is, what was the experience? So give a clear and concise overview of what it is that you want to talk about. What was your learning from that experience? What did you gain from it? And what impact has it had on your practice? And as I say, I'm reading off some slides here that will sit alongside this video, so you'll hopefully find that as a key structural way of thinking about how you complete your log. And finally, there's 2 examples I've left on here, one of which is around promoting individual growth and development and independence. So that came from one of the skills. It sits quite nicely as a description of the first duty. So duty 1, I've bracketed that so you can see it. And I think if you put that in another example, then that would provide sufficient evidence to show that you'd met duty 1 of the 19 duties. And finally, the impact of different cultures and communities and how this affects your social work. So again, there's an example here. This one relates to working with families from China and with a Thailand background. So that helps us to see that you've got a sensitivity and understanding of cultural awareness. There's another element to duty 3 which talks about discrimination, and there's room to kind of expand in a contrasting example under that duty 3 to talk about some kind of other elements. But both of these examples have been drawn from the knowledge, skills and behaviour logs, and both are speaking very well to the duties, the 19 duties that we are asking you to talk about in your log. And these are what your practice educator will look at and sign off to say that's really good evidence of you meeting the standard. Finally, it's worth saying as well that our experience of working with practice educators over the years has been extremely positive. Everybody has passed, and we've found that by keeping good communication all the way through, that usually very much so by the midway stage, everything's clear that it's on track and that you're going to meet the requirements. And as I say, everybody that has completed this work, I believe, has been very well supported and has passed. So that's an overview of the model. Separate information will come out when we come to the lecture, but hopefully that's kind of given you, your practice educator, and your manager some sort of sense of what we're asking of you at university. So thanks for your time.